My name is Niall Richard Murphy. I am the instigator and co-author of 2 books on SRE, and I'm Global Head of Azure SRE.
Hi, I'm Amy Harms, and I'm Head of SRE for SharePoint.
I'm Stephen Fitzmaurice, and I'm an engineering lead in Microsoft News.
Hi, I'm James Walsh. I work as an SRE for SharePoint Online.
So a number of commentators have observed about SRE that I guess what we'll say is there's a number of different ways doing software operations that are emerging in the marketplace, in the industry, and there's a question mark, according to these people, over maybe the future of SRE. Perhaps it will come and go, pass over us, through us, and we'll be doing something else in 5 years, like we're all doing something else compared to 5 years previously. What would you say about that?
I have to say, I when I run into those kind of comments or views, I often find it's a quite naive understanding of what software delivery is at this point in time. You know, we've had the industrial revolution. You know, in our own industry, we've had the cloud revolution. You know, ops and tech ops and sysadmins and all of that work before the cloud was. It was still there. It was just completely segregated from the practice of developing software. But now we're all in the cloud, and what you have is software engineers and SRE who are bringing those two aspects much more tightly together. So, you know, as a discipline, it's not going anywhere because it can't, because it's always been there. It has radically shifted in its nature and what it, you know, the outcomes that it seeks and the ways that it works, but the function or the capability has always been there. But software companies or technology companies were insulated from it and not aware of it pre-cloud. So yeah, I think it's, you know, really difficult to overestimate the importance and the symbiotic nature of SRE and the move to the cloud for any software company.
I think there's another fact or factoid that I like, which is there's this consultancy called Gartner. Anyway, their job is to think deep thoughts about IT and write them down and get other people to pay the money for the deep thoughts. But one of the things they have is this thing called the Gartner hype cycle, which is a diagram or a phased model of any kind of innovation in IT. So an innovation arrives, it gets talked up and reaches some point top in the hype cycle, which then people get disillusioned with the technology, it falls back down and it's at some kind of nadir, and then people come back to it and go, oh, actually it wasn't that bad after all, and there's this plateau of actual usefulness. So a while ago, I think it was maybe September last year or thereabouts, Gartner placed SRE on this hype cycle in a position. And I was surprised to see where they placed it, which was almost at the beginning of the hype cycle. So if you felt that SRE was overhyped, you have a long way to go in the Gartner hype cycle yet, so you better watch out for that one.
That's interesting.
Yeah, I think it's, I suppose, natural with anything newer that there's going to be some kind of questions and about its longevity and whatnot. Like, I know before I started at Microsoft 4 years ago, in a smaller sort of setup and scale, and it was more of a traditional development operations split, and I was kind of hearing about SRE and I was like, you know, not entirely sure what it was all about, and it's only now that I've been working in the middle of it for the last couple of years I realize how critical it is. I mean, if we don't, especially in these fast growing cloud services, if we don't treat the running of software in these systems as a software problem, we're not going to be able to keep up. I know for sure in our service we're not going to be able to keep up because of our adoption rate and growth and all that. We have to come up with these solutions. We can't. There's not enough people you can hire to still keep running it as an operations model. And as for the future, it's only, you know, it's only growing and growing for us, and we're having to get better at SRE all the time to keep up. So yeah, I can't see that changing anytime soon.
Yeah, and leaning on bits and pieces of what everyone said, like it's clearly not a function, a role, a capability, a skill, or anything that's finite. If anything, it's just going to get more difficult or more challenging, because technology is not going to wait for anybody. It's always moving ahead. So some problems we have today, we might get over those and they're easily solvable in the future, but there'll always be that pace of the technology industry that people need to keep up. So part of that as well is, it's an important point to note, is people can gather the experience and grow and help, but it's also very important that there's people with new, fresh ideas coming in and joining the fight, as I like to say. So it's a very key thing I find in Microsoft, is that if you're the more junior or versus the senior in the room, the hierarchy or the capabilities of the different individual is flat. So people's opinions count from the very beginning. So it's quite exciting that you can come in and on day one be doing stuff that makes an impact. So for me, it's a role that's going to be around for a long time. It may change a little, but it'll be around a long time.
More or less everywhere is siloed. So I don't think that there is a place where everything is like free and open and easy everywhere, right? Once you get above some critical threshold of number of people, my experience is that not everyone knows everything about what's going on. And
apparently that's 250 people. No, there's like a management science behind
it.
That's the tipping point.
I think it's about 8 myself. But, anyway, I think one of the things that I've come to understand in my time here is that you can take SRE style approaches no matter how silo-wise things are. There are certain things that are impediments for sure, but again, that's where our strong culture of relationship management can come in and help to give ways for the information to flow and for the trust to flow, which in particular allows these things to happen.
Yeah, I find that as it's a key, it's a core skill of an SRE, is that like you're embodying the Microsoft's growth mindset culture, because you can find fascinating problems in one little silo, and you take it on yourself. This is where it's exciting, where you'll go and talk to these other teams. You'll go, hey, I know that team across there. This problem will probably happen for them in a month's time. So you can actually drive that change and break down those silos by passing on your learning and consulting with other teams proactively. And that's a virtuous circle, because it builds the trust. And then over time, they'll be coming to you instead of you coming to them. And everyone wins in those situations.
Yeah. One of the huge things, coming back to the DevOps piece for a moment, huge conversation in the DevOps world about breaking down silos and so on. But the weird thing is, and just speaking about my direct experience, the weird thing is that I often see SRE acting as horizontal glue across vertical silos, and I see DevOps folks actually within those silos and acting more effectively within those silos. So it's a curious artifact of where I've been professionally, I suppose. The future, I guess, of SRE is when we look at what's happening in the industry as a whole. This is a huge growth area. For example, in a previous talk, I looked at the number of attendees for SRECon across America, Europe, Asia, etc. That graph is like all of the startup graphs that you would like to see, or at least the startup would like to see, like that. And there's one tiny blip in the Americas attendees, and that's because they had a venue which couldn't fit all the people. So it's unquestionably the future. Absolutely here to stay.
One of the things I think is also interesting is this idea of models and all of that things, but also discipline. SRE as a discipline, as a software engineering discipline, we talk a lot about hiring and getting the right people in, and sometimes that can seem difficult in a field like SRE, where my personal experience is that most of the folks in the field are actually very senior. right? Like they're coming in from another software engineering, type of experience or background or discipline, and they're quite elevated in their career, and they're moving across into SRE because something about it has attracted them, or necessity. So what we don't see is a lot of like fresh grads, new trainees, folks just out of university coming into the field, being hired straight away. And I think part of the reason for that is, there's not a university degree in it yet. There will be. I give it 24 months if anyone wants to lay bets, but I think there'll be one in 24 months.
There are master's degrees already, actually.
Master's, yeah. I'm talking like a bachelor's degree, right? A 4-year, 3 or 4 year bachelor's degree. So, no laying bets.
No bets.
Right.
We're good.
12 months?
What's the odds?
We'll talk about that. So that will come, as in all of the other sort of disciplines or disciplines of software engineering. This too shall come. But I think it's something that we really need to encourage. People starting out in their careers to get involved in and get interested in, because having less experienced, more junior people in the team brings its own set of opportunities for us as mature engineering organizations. We need those fresh eyes. We need those, asking the obvious questions. We need folks to come in and go, but why are you doing it like this? To question the historical context and the current state of facts on the ground. And I think I actually was at Microsoft has a great intern program globally. And I say this as a person who has really struggled in startups to have good access to interns. So to come here and find this program here was like nirvana, like thank you. So I was at an event and we're talking to an intern, and actually one of the interns came up to me and said, you've moved around a lot. Your career is basically, if they obviously looked me up on LinkedIn, which was a little one of those awkward moments. You've moved around a lot, like every 18, 24 months, you're in a new company, not just a new role. Do you think that someone like myself as an intern at Microsoft would be able to have a long career at Microsoft? And I thought about it, and the answer is categorically yes. There are very few places on earth where you can be an employee at a company for 20 years and have had 10 different jobs. Yeah. But Microsoft, we have that breadth, we have the scale, we have the different product areas, we have the different areas of focus. If you want to do machine learning and artificial intelligence, if you want to do front-end design, if you want to do SharePoint Online, content delivery, whatever it is that you're interested in, we absolutely have it. So yeah, I think there's a bit of encouragement there to tell people, don't apply to Microsoft after you've had a career, because this is some kind of pinnacle. We need you now, wherever you are in what you're doing.
Yeah, there's a good point on that. It's like when people ask me, am I ready for Microsoft? The answer is yes. Because fresh ideas are just so important to this growing and ever evolving and cutting edge industry. And it's those fresh ideas that make the capabilities of the team stronger and grow better. So like my answer is always hell yes. And to build on your point as well about career, like you can be a developer, you can change to a program manager, you can work in SRE, you can change into anything you want. There's all those paths there are open to you. So like my advice would be always, when you do start your careers, maybe stay settled for a bit first, so you kind of feel where you're going. But please don't ever rule out that nothing is precluded. You can always move around. You're not signing your name in stone and you're stuck. So there's plenty of opportunity here outside as well.
Yeah, there might be conception. I've heard it here and there that to come to work in SRE or similar discipline in a company like Microsoft at this scale, you might be reluctant to do it, that you think you might not be ready or whatnot. But what I would say on that, and coming from much smaller background myself, is that what I found is all the fundamentals that are still the same. Mm-hmm. Okay, it might be larger scale, but you'd be surprised how much already. And once you're familiar with those fundamentals, you can just go and have great fun applying that at in enormous infrastructures, and increase your knowledge or whatever. But it's definitely not something that you should ever be reluctant or feel like you're precluded from.
Yeah, and it's another exciting part. It's like the hockey stick for yourself of learning. You're working around other people who are just as thirsty to be learning all the time. So I found personally myself, I grew so much because I started my career Microsoft, and I've moved around. I have changed my role focus a lot of times, but I've learned so much from working with other people all the time. So
yeah,
it's a great opportunity.
Yeah, and like if you for me it would have been working with mixed Windows Linux background, but working with a lot of the traditional Microsoft products way over the years, and then you come here and suddenly you're working side by side with the people who are creating these products, and you're actually having direct impact on certain ways that this product is going, and when you think like you would read TechNet articles back in the day outside of Microsoft, and that was very much some kind of bubble over there, and you'd get some information here and there. Now you're talking to the people who are writing the TechNet articles, and making the changes on the back of them. So that's really cool. I like that.